Hey there, Skeleton Key here. Welcome back to my channel. Yeah, I know I gave even less notice than usual, so I don't know if anyone's gonna show up live. um, and sometimes it says zero up, there's a little counter up in the corner. And sometimes it'll say zero, but then somebody will comment while it still says zero, and I'm like, okay. Hmm. So I don't know how the counter works. So it says zero right now, but I don't know. If you're here, say hi. And yeah, the just go into the chat and say hi. And if you like, we can talk about in the comments. We can talk about what you're reading, or you can talk about what I'm reading if you agree with me, or if there's something I'm thinking about reading and you think I should reconsider that, because there's some books, and we'll get into that in a bit. There's some that I kind of wish I'd been warned against. But anyway, I'm here to report on the books I read last week, the 24th week of 2024. So yeah, we're coming up on the middle of the year. And let's see. I'll just go ahead and share my screen. I finished 5 books last week. And there you can see. So yeah, these 5 right here. And so you can see kind of a range, 3 4 stars, a 3 star, and a 1 star. And yeah, so kind of a mixed bag and a wide variety of kinds of books too. Let's see. Let's start with A Botanist's Guide to Parties and Poisons. I've been wanting to read this for a while. And this was partially a cover. I like the title. I like the cover. And the description. London, 1923. And it takes place at the University College of London. So it's so Saffron Everly is our protagonist, and yeah, so she is the newly minted research assistant, and she, of course, is a botanist, and oh gosh, there's a lot. And okay, I listened to this on audiobook, and it did get a little confusing in spots because there were a lot of people, and a lot of people doing different things. And I don't know why, but so it starts at this party, and the a woman is poisoned. And so so there was her husband who was a suspect, and then Saffron's mentor who is a suspect. And those 2 men, I kept getting confused. I couldn't for the life of me keep track. And I don't think it's the book's fault. I think that's on me, that I just couldn't. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough. I don't know. But anyway, that kept me confused. And it's so it was really interesting. It's 1923. I wouldn't really call it speculative. There is a lot of it revolves around the toxin of this one plant, and it is a fictional plant. But I don't think it would be considered magical, or yeah, this is not a study in metaphysics. I think this was supposed to be pretty straightforwardly realistic, even though some of the properties of the plant. But then I think about biology and just how weird biology is. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in biology that just doesn't make a lick of sense. And if you start looking at like the ocean floor, oh my word. Um, it's like exobiology. There's, was it xenobiology? I can't. What do they call it for other planets? Anyway, I forget which, but anyway, so there's this poisoning, and so Saffron has to. She knows a lot about this plant, and so she's trying to prove that her mentor didn't poison this woman. And of course, since it was poison at a party in a drink, well, they don't even really know that at first, that it was in a drink. And but anyway, or well, they kind of assumed that, but every now and then somebody would point out, we don't know it was in the drink. We don't know how she was poisoned exactly. We're just assuming that. So, there's a lot of things there. So they're not even really sure that she was the intended victim. Maybe her husband was the intended victim. Maybe somebody else entirely was the intended. But anyway, it's all good and confusing, like a mystery should be, because that otherwise, if it's just obvious, then that's no fun. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. There was some stuff that I was just like, well, and there was the romance got a little cheesy, if you ask me, but that's a me thing too. So, but if the description sounds interesting to you, the time period and all that, yeah, go ahead and give this one a go. I was a little worried. People kept comparing it to The Lost Apothecary, I think was the title. That was super popular, and I think it even won the Goodreads choice, if I'm not mistaken. But I thought that one was kind of meh. And so people kept comparing this to that book, and so I was prepared to be disappointed, and I was not disappointed. I was quite pleased with this. All right, next. And so yeah, that one does count for the historical fiction readathon. And I'll kind of go over that a little bit later. So here's another historical fiction book, The Secrets of Heartwood Hall. And this one is also not supernatural or anything, although, and I hope that's not a spoiler. I don't think that's a spoiler. The Margaret Lennox she's a young widow. She goes to this remote location to be governess. She's hired as a governess at this place, and everyone in the town is like, "Ooh, that place is haunted or cursed or something." And the people there, they never come into town, and then there's some kind of hinky goings on, and but she likes the people, so so she's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and there's just a lot of weird stuff, and the but some of it does suggest some supernatural, like ghosts or something, and but I think it felt pretty obvious to me that no, these aren't ghosts. This is something, there's something else afoot here, and it's completely rational, can be explained by completely rational means. So and there's a romance with the gardener, so of course she wants to stay. But there are some things about this. So this is described in a lot of reviews I've seen as a love letter to Gothic fiction. And Katie Lumsden is, the author of this book, is a booktuber, and she's one of the hosts of Victober. So, and I think she might be a co-host of the historical fiction. I'm trying to remember who is running the historical fiction readathon. I have not updated things. I've been having problems getting the tags to work. So I need to see what I'm doing something wrong with the tags. So I need to figure out how to fix that and get everyone tagged that needs to be tagged in my descriptions so that you can go find these readathons. But Katie Lumsden is, she's very well known on BookTube for uh, being a proponent of Victorian fiction and Gothic fiction. And so that very much comes through in this book. And there's some things that people, I've seen some criticisms, and they're kind of spoilery, so I'm not going to talk about what specifically they are, because most of them I think are kind of towards the end of the story. But I actually really respected the choices that the author made here. Because some of the things, it is super tropey, because if you're doing Gothic fiction, there are certain tropes that, you just cannot call it Gothic fiction without it having these tropes. But she took a lot of the tropes and then she did some pretty unexpected things, is what I felt. And so it was a really nice blend of very comfortable tropes, very, things where it's like, okay, I know where this is going. And it wasn't in a boring, predictable way to me. It was, it was very comforting. It was comfortable. And I felt like this is cozy. I know where I am. Um, I know what's going on. And this is fine. This is great. And then one of the tropes would kind of veer off in a different direction, and it'd be just enough novelty to kind of pull me out of my comfort zone and give me a little bit of a surprise, but not a shock. And some people complained that it was, the secrets and everything weren't like earth shattering or whatever. And I'm like, well, I think they kind of were in their context. And I also am really kind of tired of this trend in thrillers, mostly modern thrillers, but just about any kind of thriller now, that you've got to have these like whiplash twists and just, going back and forth. It's like, oh no, it couldn't have been him because, oh, yeah, just various, and a lot of them, they just get stupid. And there was none of this here. It was very well done. In fact, I'm actually thinking of bumping it up to a 5 because I feel like it's this 3.68 average. I feel like that's really underrating this book. So yeah, I may end up bumping this up to a 5 because the author's love of the genre and respect for the genre just came through so beautifully. So take that for what it's worth. And if you are a fan of Gothic historical fiction or, Gothic genre Victorian fiction, I think you'll find something to enjoy here. And of course, hop into the chat and let me know if there's anything you want to talk about. Okay, so Out of the Blue, and this I listened to an audiobook. This is fantasy. This is very supernatural. And okay, so this is YA. The protagonists, I think, are all 16 or thereabouts, and they're high schoolers or getting ready to go to college, one of the two. I think there's one who is like a year older than the others, or maybe a few that are a year older, maybe 16, 17, and they're looking at heading off to college soon. But it felt, I don't know, it was really weird. A lot of the prose and the magic system, the way it was presented, because there it's yeah, the merfolk are magical creatures. They're non-binary magical creatures, and there's just all this hand wavy magic involved with their sort of Rumspringa kind of tradition, and where they go on land for a month and have to help a human, or else they're stuck on land. Or I forget exactly what gets them stuck on land and what gets them stuck in. I I don't know. But at a certain point, they have a choice as to whether or not to stay on land and stay in human form, or whether to return to the blue and be merfolk again and forever. And that part of the story felt very young to me. It felt very young end of YA, or even older end of middle grade. But at the same time, all these 16-year-olds are just having sex a lot all the time. And I'm like, okay. And I mean, yes, I realize teenagers have sex. Yeah, that's not a surprise to me. But uh I don't know, it was just presented just so casually. It's like there wasn't, for the most part, I mean, there were some specific instances where there was a lot of angst surrounding the whole sexual thing, but for the most part, it was just like, yeah, we've been, we're 16 and we've been bonking for years, and I'm like, okay. So it's more that disparity between these two, the style and this attitude towards teen sex, and I'm like, all right. So I just kind of ignored it and went with it, and it's a fun story. There's a lot of angst, of course. There's all this relationship angst. It's like the our protagonist got our human protagonist just got dumped, and so our merfolk protagonist just washes up on shore and decides, I'm gonna help this guy get his boyfriend back, and much wackiness ensues. But it's all really kind of, I don't know, dark and depressing. Um, so, it's like this is a fun story, but at the same time, it's like really, really kind of it. So I gave it 3 stars. I liked it well enough, but um, I would be careful who I recommend it to, because it's just kind of strange in how it presents things. Um and part of that could just be me, and the fact that the whole merfolk, mermaid, merman thing um has never really been something that you know it's not a fantasy trope that I've really been crazy about. I mean, I've I have watched The Little Mermaid about, what, 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. I don't know, whenever it went to video. Um, I was babysitting somebody and they wanted to watch The Little Mermaid. And I don't really remember anything about it. So, um, but yeah, the whole merfolk thing has just not been my thing. So, but it's definitely not like uh, chlorine, if that's what you're worried about. It's, yeah, a very, very different book from chlorine. All right, The Root of Ice and Salt. Oh boy. And this one was actually recommended specifically to me because I like gothic fiction. Um, so here, what does it say? A reimagining of Dracula's voyage to England filled with gothic imagery and queer desire. There's a little bit of gothic imagery. There's like 4 scenes that kind of follow the storyline. Oh, the Aquaman movie. It was okay. It's another one that I I enjoyed it in the moment, I guess, but and I'm not a huge Jason Momoa fan either. So, I don't know, he, like, stole a book from one of his co-stars, and there was something about that, and I'm like, "Okay, dude, you're on my shit list." And so but he's never been my type, and, um, yeah, so I don't know. It was okay, I guess. I really don't remember anything about it, and I don't know, I guess I've always thought the whole you know, so there's merfolk, there's selkies, there's I don't know, there's all sorts of different, um, different cultures have different, uh, I don't know what you call it, traditions of sea people, and I've just never really found those stories compelling. I just haven't paid much attention to them. Although I do like, the song "My Sister Selkie." I love that song, and that is, um, Pandora Celtica. God, how could I not remember Pandora Celtica? So, yeah, go look that up, Pandora Celtica, "My Sister Selkie." Love that song. I enjoyed The Years of Rice and Salt, and that's Kim Stanley Robinson, I think? I know, I've seen it on the shelf. That's a chonker, isn't it? Yeah, it's on my TBR. It's on my TBR. But, this is, I am sure, nothing like it. Fortunately, it's short. It's a novella. I think it was like 4 hours long, and I listened to it on double speed because I'm like, let me get through this thing because I am not having fun. Um, it's it's just this captain, and it's not because of Dracula. Apparently, he's always yeah, Kim Stanley Robinson. But the ship captain has apparently always been like this, and all he ever thinks about in his internal monologue and apparently writes about in his captain's log for his ship is his dick and what he wants to do with his dick and why and which crew member why he selects crew members with certain physical attributes because he wants to fuck them. And I'm like, but he can't fuck them because that wouldn't be ethical. And I'm like, but it's like 4 hours, fortunately in my case like 2 hours, but of this. And there's, every once in a while he'll break for a scene something to do with Dracula's cartons of soil and these crates and how well constructed they are. And then I guess um it's the voyage from Varna to Whitby. And if you know from the novel Dracula, of course, it winds up being a ghost ship that comes into the harbor. And there's a nod to the actual storyline, this bit of story from Dracula. I have never read Moby Dick. I will never read Moby Dick. Um, that's I had to read Billy Budd in high school, and that's by Herman Melville. I absolutely detest Melville's writing style, and I owe it to myself never to read anything else by Herman Melville. I have promised myself that I will never force myself to read anything by Herman Melville ever again. Um, so I don't know. Caitlin loves Moby Dick. She thought it was great. She didn't think it was boring, but that's Caitlin. I would imagine it would be boring. I've heard about how boring it is, and yeah, Billy Budd was another one that was short. It was really boring. Yeah, I don't know. So that I couldn't tell you, but yeah, it's I mean, if you're looking for a horny ship captain talking about his dick a lot, there you go. This is for you. But I was just like, and what gets me is the person who recommended it to me. Have to think they never read it and just filled with gothic imagery, and they're like, "Oh, hey, done. Here, you should read this." And it's like, erotica is sort of a deal breaker for me because I think most people know that about me by now. Mie yeah, there's Mieville. Um, and yeah. Although I've heard the China Mieville is, um I won't say anything because I don't know any details. I've not looked into it, but I've been told he's not a great person. But anyway, but I like his writing. I haven't read a whole lot by him. I've read The City in the City, which yeah, that was weird. Is that surely I've read more than that? Huh. I keep thinking I've read more than The City in the City, but now I can't think of anything else by him that I've read. Well, I should remedy that, or yeah, and should also find out um, why someone I know has said some things about that I should look into. Uh, what he's actually like. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know anything about his views on anything. I just know that I liked that book. So I won't say anything more about Mieville, but okay. So yeah, The Root of Ice and Salt, not my jam. And here is the fifth book that I finished last week, and it is Everyone is Watching by Heather Goodenkauf. I'm just using a vaguely German pronunciation of that because, yeah, my German's really sketchy, especially with vowels, but I don't know how else to pronounce that. And if anyone knows how Heather pronounces it, please let me know, and I shall adjust. It's a reality TV show game. Yeah, reality TV show game, sort of like Survivor. I've never watched Survivor, so I can't speak to that. But yeah, so it's sort of inspired by Survivor, Hunger Games, the writing retreat. I mean, there's this big mishmash of things that it was either inspired by or inspired by their inspirations, because some of the stuff they were probably working on at about the same time, and probably came up with some of these ideas independently of each other. But it has sort of that bonkers energy that the writing retreat had. Um, they even in the book they even reference Squid Game, and there's some Squid Game vibes here. And um, but the so you've got 5 contestants, and we're following, is it 3 of them? I think we're actually following 3 of them, and then there are, like, these little interstitial kind of things where it pulls back to, audience members watching this show, and it's all live, um, and they're like, "Everything is real, this isn't scripted, it's not staged, it's" yeah, all that stuff. I don't know. I mean, I can't help but think that everything was really super obvious, and at least to the reader. And I'm not sure what I think about that because, having been a mystery reader for close on to half a century now. I I when things are predictable to me, I'm like, well, yeah, of course it's predictable to me. I've read this particular story, Agatha Christie invented this twist, so of course I'm going to see it coming. Um and I know a lot more about construction of mystery stories than the average mystery reader. So, um, especially younger mystery buffs and writers. So, I don't know how old Heather is, but um, I'm guessing she's just by the writing style and everything, I'm guessing millennial or younger. And there's stuff that you only get through experience. And so I'm pretty forgiving of that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, well, of course I'm going to get that. But most readers, especially millennials and youngers, aren't going to get this stuff. But I feel like there was a lot of stuff here that was intentionally made obvious to the audience, even though it wasn't obvious to the people on the ground here, the 5 contestants and the assistant. So here, with the 5 contestants are the best friend, the confidant, the senator, the boyfriend, the executive, and then there's the assistant, who is another character who, um, it's apparent pretty early on, this isn't a spoiler, that she's actually a 6th contestant. Um, but she doesn't realize it. And the thing is, the viewing audience of the show, as well as the readers of the book, are aware of these tags, these labels, and the contestants themselves are not, because if they were, it would be obvious to them. Oh, is the twist that we're all living in a C64 computer? Um, no, that's a different book. That is, there's a little bit of that vibe, but and it's probably not a C64, maybe an Amiga. I don't know, but there's a Stuart Turton book that I just, yeah, I kind of quit paying attention to it. Pretty early on. The fat phobia was egregious. I'd never read anything like that, and I was just like, "Okay, I'm gonna finish reading this, it's on audiobook, I'll just let it go, and I'll listen to it, but you've lost me." Um, that kinda thing. But, uh, no, that was not the twist here. Um, I don't know. I feel like it was purposefully done, that we would all know everything that was going on, but I feel like it wasn't the best choice. So, I don't know, I need to think on that some. So this was I gave it 4 stars. It's a 3.5. I rounded up to 4 because it was just kind of a ride. Um, it was entertaining. This was a popcorn book. Uh, Nothing to read too deeply into. All right, so those are the 5 books that I finished. And again, if you feel like commenting, and if you're watching on replay, of course, feel free to comment in the comment section and I can get back to you. So let's just kind of take a look at some of the readathons and things that I'm doing this summer. So 52 Book Club Summer, and that's the one that is Olympic themed. And I've been doing pretty good. Most of the books I've been reading, and that one goes June, July, and August. Most of the books I've read in June have filled something on that. And I don't really recall. I've been trying to go sort of, bronze, 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 silver, 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 gold, gold, gold. But no, it's just kind of bouncing all over the place. So I've got some bronze, I've got some gold. I think I've got 1 or 2 silvers. Um, which, yeah, if I can figure out how to tag, I'll put links to where you can look at that. And that might be just better to link to. I know they do have the 52 Book Club does have a YouTube channel. You can just look that up. And they've got videos about it, but it might be easier just to link to the blog site. So I'll try that. But yeah, that's been kind of fun to put a kind of an Olympic spin on my books. And roll your next read. I have finished 4 books that count for roll your next read, and that's the one with the little chart, sort of like a bingo style, and you roll dice. And I finished 4 books. So let's see, A Botanist Guide counted, and let's see, so A Botanist Guide to Parties and Poisons, that was Backlist, a book that was released before 2024. And then The Secrets of Heartwood Hall, I included that for spicy. And that said a steamy romance. It wasn't steamy. It was, my level of steamy. A book that involves food or cooking. Nah, not really. But spicy colors on the cover, red, orange, yellow, etc. And that one was red. So, and so I have been doing little shorts that you can use to catch up on or look ahead. So it's been a little while since I finished it. I finished a book for it, but right now, City Under One Roof is what I'm doing. I'm reading because I'm doing the letter I, and Iris starts with an I. So that is that. And I'm really enjoying that. That's another book that I think is going to end up being underrated because it doesn't have a really great score on Goodreads, but I think it's pretty good so far. I don't have any problems with it. So the historical fiction readathon, of course, Secrets of Heartwood Hall, A Botanist Guide to Parties and Poisons. The Root of Ice and Salt is historical fiction. Ugh. Everyone is Watching is not. Okay. And I'll talk about it here in a little bit, but Showdown Trail will count. I have not finished it yet. And let's see. So I'm making some progress on the historical fiction readathon, and that is just this month. So yeah, I need to get moving because I think I've only got 3 of the 9 spots filled on that. So, but June on the Range is, I'm reading Showdown Trail for that, and that's historical fiction. Most things that I would say qualify for June on the Range are going to be historical fiction. And, so the Zane Grey I'm reading is historical fiction. And then there's 2 other, you need to read 2 other Westerns. And so I've got News of the World on deck, and that's historical fiction. The Six Gun Tarot it's definitely speculative fiction, but it's also historical fiction, so sort of an alternate historical fiction. I count alternate history as historical. Some people probably don't. And yeah, I count post-apocalyptic Westerns in the Western genre. So, the Juniper Wars, that sort of thing. And yeah, I have infamously declared do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep historical fiction. or Western, not historical. It's not historical fiction, but it is Western in my opinion. Um, but Showdown Trail, I'm listening to that on audiobook and I'm enjoying that so far. Set in the Wild West, frontier survival, and all that fun stuff. And let's see what I've got. Yes, it does. Lemur is so old. Does it count as historical fiction? Yes. Yeah, he. What? I forget what. Yeah, this was history when he was writing it, and you'll see varying definitions of historical fiction. I mean, it's definitely a Western, but I would call it historical fiction because it's not, you know, it's before his time, really. Even if he was, I don't think he was a young child in the, well, I'm not sure what does it say. Okay, so he was born in 1908. So technically there was still Wild West stuff going. I mean, gosh, I've been to Arizona in the last, what, 20 years ago, something like that. And it's still kind of the Wild West in parts of Arizona. But, um, yeah, so if he was born in 1908, I would say the stuff that's set in the 19th century is before his time. Um, and but I consider, if I were to write something set in the 70s, even though I was alive in the 70s, I would classify it as historical fiction because to me as a writer, that's very historical. Yeah, I was there for it, but um that doesn't make it any less historical even to me. I don't know. Yeah, so I think a lot of the things that, kind of, now it'd be one thing if he were, in his 30s and say the book is set in 1888 and he was 30 in 1888. I would, yeah, depending on when he was writing it, I don't know. It's a really tricky subject. Neuromancer. Does Neuromancer count as a Western? Gosh, I don't really remember a lot about Neuromancer. I've read it, and not that long ago, but it was, I don't know. I wouldn't consider it that just off the top of my head, but I'd I'd be willing to go look at it again and reevaluate because I just don't remember enough about it. So, yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of stuff being written now that I'd say, and even present day stuff that's not historical fiction that I would consider westerns, like C.J. Box, Craig Johnson, even I'd say even some of Margaret Mizushima's stuff qualifies as western, and Kathleen Connolly. Uh, yeah, I think I take a really broad approach to defining westerns, as a lot of you have already noticed. Let's see. And then let's see. Okay, big book summer. I still have not started a big book for big book summer, and so big book summer defined, and that is Sue Jackson, I believe, is who is running big book summer and has been for what, a decade now, at least, maybe a dozen years. I don't know. She says in her announcement video. So, If I can figure out how to get the tags to work, I will, and I'll link to that. Um, but she defines a big book as 400 pages or more. And yeah, I'm looking at the books that I have started, and I still don't have any. Oh, well, I have a few, but they're large print, so that doesn't really count. Because if, it's a 400 and some page book, but if you go to the Goodreads page for just the regular hardback, it's only 300 and some pages. So, nope. Yeah, so probably, I don't know what I'm going to start with. I've got a bunch of stuff that I have a bunch of library books that I need to finish and get back to the library, or at least DNF or set aside or whatever. I have to disposition them before I leave at the end of the month. So, let's see. But I mean, a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court would be historical fiction, because even though the Yankee starts presumably in Twain's time, I don't know. I haven't started it yet, so I don't know exactly. But he goes back to King Arthur's time, and that's definitely historical, related to Twain. So, sci-fi summer. No, not really. Out of the Blue was fantasy. The Root of Ice and Salt was fantasy. What else? Savage Appetites. No, that's nonfiction. Okay, this counts. All right, so I think I am done with sharing. So this, I think, counts as science fiction. It's science fantasy. It's Death by Silver by Melissa Scott and Amy Griswold. And I started this for a book club, and the virtual steampunk book club, temporal textual talks. And I didn't get it finished in time, but it's metaphysics. The theoretical metaphysicists that, at this college. So I guess this would count as dark academia. I think I counted the botanist's book as dark academia, because it ticked off some boxes there. And yeah, but this is fun. I haven't finished it, but so far it's a lot of fun. So this will be a sci-fi summer book, and that is another one that is only the month of June. Sci-fi June is the hashtag. I don't. Aversion. I started Aversion for a book club, and I didn't get it finished in time. That was for Strange Worlds. I still haven't finished that, but that was the really, and so that one's also on a ship called the Demeter. So yeah, it's and Demeter was the name of the ship in The Root of Ice and Salt, because that was the ship that Dracula's Voyage to England was on. Yeah, so and it's actually 3 different ships named the Demeter, and so there's all this weird so that one's science fiction, weird time stuff. So those, I'll get those 2 in. And then the only other thing, and I don't think this counts yet. I mean, it is a chonker here, but it's large print. So it's really only about 300 and some pages. And that is It's Okay to Be Angry About Capitalism by Bernie Sanders. And I mean, it's not a happy book, but what book about capitalism is going to be happy these days? But I'm reading that for Stranger Than Fiction, which is my nonfiction book club. And I have the physical book here, but I'm kind of switching back and forth between the physical and the audiobook. And it's really interesting. I mean, a lot of it I already know, but I definitely want to be able to read it so that I can recommend it to people. And at this point, yes, I would definitely recommend it to just about anyone. Because I think even though it's preaching to the choir in a lot of cases, I think it's the sort of thing that you need to be informed of, to the point that you can speak intelligently and persuasively on some very important things that we're dealing with in this country. And I mean, okay, so maybe I don't know, maybe, I am told that as an author and I don't know, I don't have enough followers to be an influencer by any means, but is somebody who puts myself out there publicly that I should just refrain from commenting on political things. But no, hell no. Um, no, don't vote for Trump. Whatever you do, do not vote for Trump. I mean, I've got some serious issues with Biden, but vote for Biden, please, in November, because we cannot continue down this road that Trump put us on. And I mean, it wasn't Trump specific. I mean, Trump really just opened the floodgates. But I mean, Reagan, this goes back to Reagan and Reaganomics. And yeah, I'm just kind of wearing my political heart on my sleeve right now. But yeah, we're in late stage capitalism, and this is not good. This is not good for the country. It's not good for the world. It's a shit show, and it needs to stop. And so please vote for Biden. And whatever you do, do not give Trump any oxygen. Um, just, and yeah, I do have problems with Biden. I I am very much against funding Israel. Netanyahu is up on charges of war crimes. Hello? And and we're visiting violence upon protesters. This is America. That should not be happening because they're right. It's genocide. And I mean, defending yourself against Hamas is one thing. Genocide against Palestinians is something else entirely. And I won't stand for it. And so there, you know what I think. And I'll stand by that. Okay. So now that I've got that out of my system, see, was there anything else I wanted to talk about? No, not really. Anybody got any final comments? Yeah, I don't know if I just painted. So I guess it's a good thing that I am not, an influencer with thousands of followers or millions or tens of thousands or whatever followers, but or else I might have a target painted on my back. But oh well. If Taylor Swift can speak her mind, then so can I. So yeah. All right. Well, on that cheery note, oh, hang on. Is your preferred world more likely to be advanced by voting for Biden or for Trump? Oh, Biden. Biden, definitely. Um, I mean, this analogy, I don't know who coined this analogy, but or started it, but it's like it's not marriage. You're not looking for the one forever and ever, amen. You're looking, it's like public transportation. Oh, you can't find a bus that takes you exactly where you want to go? Well, find one that will get you going the right direction and go from there. And right now, Biden and Trump are the only uh, real candidates because we have a two-party system that sucks and we need ranked choice voting. But as it stands, the only, I mean, you could do a protest vote for somebody else, but it would not do a damn thing. Um, it would be just absolutely stupid to die on that hill. So Biden is the most likely, and he has done some good things. And he's, I would say, ah, generally, his heart is in the right place. Biden, his heart is in the right place. I think generally he's a decent person. Nobody's perfect. No system is perfect. No platform is perfect. And that mode of thought is how I learned to navigate the two-party system. Exactly. That's what you got to do. And um, and yeah, even if you think some third-party candidate will get you closer, he's not going to get you closer if he's out of gas. He's not going to get you anywhere if he's out of gas. So the only people who have any fuel in this game are Biden and Trump. Those are your choices. And it's not even a choice for me. It's got to be Biden. Um, and if one or both of them die for whatever reason, I mean, they're both elderly and, I mean, I could get hit by a bus and die. Age isn't everything, but, you know, their age is a factor. And so I don't know what to do if one or both of them kicks the bucket, but oh well. But anyway, vote blue. And thank you for hanging out with me. And thank you for commenting. And I look forward to seeing other comments. And I will talk at you later.